Good morning, Morro Bay. Welcome to the City of Morro Bay's Tourism Business Improvement District Advisory Board meeting today. It is 9:03. I'd like to welcome all today to this meeting on the 21st, the winter solstice today. Hope everybody got up early and got to celebrate. I'd like to establish a quorum here, and from my right, I have Mr. Taylor, who is going to be here and joining us. We have Stephen is with us, and why am I think I'm on stage. Sean and Maggie and myself. I wonder who I am today. Charlie Yates, thank you for being here. Are there any board meeting announcements? Any board members? I love being on stage. It's been a while. Okay, we have our January TBID meeting has been rescheduled for January 25th here from 9 to 11:30 at the Vets Hall. We're also excited to announce our annual shareholders meeting, which will be here at the Vets Hall March 8th at 9 a.m. and breakfast will be served. That will be an exciting morning where we're going to learn a lot. So, public comment. Staff announcements?
I have a few announcements just about our office hours that are coming up. Our office is officially closed on December 22nd and 25th. We're also closed January 1st and 15th for federal holidays, and then January 16th through the 20th. I will be at Go West, but we will have staff in the office if you need anything or if any hoteliers need anything. And then February 15th and 16th is the Visit California Outlook Forum in Southern California.
Oh, good morning.
Morning.
Hi, Scott.
How are you doing?
Any more staff announcements?
That's it.
Okay. Public comment? No public comment. I see the public is here in mass today. Okay. I'd like to go through the consent agenda. Looking for approval of the October 19th TBID advisory minutes, as well as the October 24th and November 16th. Has everyone had a chance to review those minutes? Are there any corrections or edits that are needed to be made?
Are you addressing all three?
All three at once, yes. I can take them one at a time if you'd like.
October 24th, it shows that I was present and Sean was absent. I think it's the other way around.
The other way around.
Right.
We'll make that correction. Any other further review show anything else that needs to be corrected?
The minutes for November are included in that?
Yes, November 16th.
I wasn't here for that, so I won't be able to.
Okay. Well, let's take them one at a time. I'd like to ask for a motion on October 19th.
I make a motion that we accept the October 19th minutes. What's the other one? As written.
Second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? On to October 24th. I'd like to entertain a motion.
Go ahead, see if we made a correction. Yeah.
With the amendment.
I'll make a motion to approve with the one amendment.
Second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any abstentions?
Abstain.
It passes. Abstain. Thank you. And on to November 16th. Any changes?
Motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any abstentions? Any-
Abstain.
Thank you.
Yeah, abstain. I wasn't here either.
We missed you both. And we are looking for consent on the Tourism Manager's Report, TOT Report, the Marketing Public Relations Update, and B1. And that is a business item. We are looking for a motion to receive and file.
Why don't I go through the TOT real quickly
Great.
with you guys? So we have up there the standard TOT report that is also published on the Morro Bay City website. And then behind it, we have the infographic that outlines a little more of what's gone on for that month. And looking at comparatively how we look with other county cities, we're doing fairly well. Highway 1 is still affecting us, having that closed. RevPAR was up slightly, $80 over 79 last year, as well as ADR was up to 127. Occupancy rate was down, but ADR was up, so I like that change. I did put on the market factors. I wanted you to realize that there was an increase over last year for VR and RV total, and they were up 55,000 for the month. The other thing I wanted to mention, it doesn't say on here, but we also had Harbor Festival in October, and we also had our concerts on the Bay in October, and neither one of those are mentioned on here. Is there any questions I can answer about the TOT?
Board, any questions, comments, concerns regarding our TOT? Seeing none, I'd like to entertain a motion. Public comment? Seeing none, I'd like to call for a motion.
So we approve these?
Just receive and file.
Oh, yeah.
No motion needed. Thank you. Moving on, I would like to bring up Mary Ann Stansfield to talk about. You have one other item?
No, I'm going to talk about it.
Okay, thank you.
So the next item on our agenda is our overview for November that we always do. One of the things that came back from our town hall meeting was to look at ROIs and how do we better those. And so I asked Mary Ann to come here and talk briefly, well, not really briefly, it's pretty in-depth, but about looking at the November numbers and how we did and kind of talk about the KPIs, the key performance indicators that we have in place and how those look and how we want to maybe adapt them or change them for next year. And so this, what she's going to go through is pretty in-depth. I would let all of you know, please, anytime you want to ask her questions, I would go ahead and stop because there are so much slides on it. I think it would be really wise to just anytime if you want to ask her a question, let's do it then so that we don't get all the way down and then we have to remember what it was.
So, actually, maybe just to start, the hyperlink on the B2 is going to, it says October 2017 marketing report. Is it are they October numbers or?
Should be November.
Okay, I'll scroll down and find it.
Mary Ann.
Thank you. Yes, my name is Mary Ann Stansfield with Mental Marketing. Thank you for having me this morning. Happy holidays, everyone. Yes, as to Jen's point, after the town hall we had come and we had presented a bunch of benefits of the VRs joining the T-bid. At that point, a lot of the questions that were generated were really more about results, and so we did want to kind of go into where we are with KPIs that have been approved, by the board. It's been probably a year since we've addressed KPIs with the board, so it's good timing. Right, so I'm going to get into what KPIs are. KPIs are, of course, key performance indicators. This is, Jen, did you go over the slide? Okay, so I'm going to go ahead one here. So what I want to talk about is our key performance indicators, which are basically the quantitative results that we and statistics that we pull based on the marketing that we do, and then as a whole look at those results and analyze the whys and the wherefores and where do we go from here. Basically, it gives us all the information we need to make great marketing decisions and to show you guys how your dollars are being spent to drive awareness and to drive bookings. So I wanted to start with the November website traffic because it was down 33%. As you guys, if you had a chance to review those reports, I did make a note in there that said we were able to kind of analyze those numbers and realize that it was the referrals from social media that were down about 9,000 clicks to the website. And then there was some of our digital advertising that was down probably 1,000 from year over year. And so I wanted to kind of address those numbers and kind of explain the difference in strategies and some trending as to why that happened. So basically for November, we launched a new event, Winterfest, which went really well. It was a great idea. Basically, they morphed 12 Days of Christmas, and then they included in the lighted boat parade. They added 2 additional lighted boat parade days, that kind of thing. So we had this 12 Days of Winterfest. And so to really kind of push that concept, we did a branding campaign. And so we did some great PR. We got great results on our PR outreach, on our social outreach, and we also developed an asset, a Winterfest asset video that we pushed out through video ads through our digital ad networks. And so I'm going to go over these numbers here in a second, and you'll see that while basically a trend that's happening is it's just not all about clicks anymore, it's also about conversions. And so the click-through rate has been an ongoing industry standard for a long time. As you've probably seen if you're on boards of other tourism entities, you'll see, conversions are also tracking as well. And what that means is that we can now see who we can track people who see our ads but don't necessarily click. We can do that through retargeting ads. We try to follow them and where they're going on the web. You guys have probably all seen that. If you've shopped somewhere and then next thing you know, that company is following you with their ads, that's called retargeting. So we do a bit of that. But in other cases, we also are able to track if someone looked at an ad, they didn't click on it, but they did click on it in 2 months, we can track that. And so what those are called are conversions. So they're not coming through as clicks on that ad, they're showing up as conversions. And so that is something that that everyone in tourism and travel marketing is really tracking as well, that has value. So to that point, I want to talk about this video we did to raise brand awareness of Winterfest. Winterfest has so many key messages because there were 12 events. Actually, there were more than 12 events because there was multiple events on some days. So to do that, we really want to grow awareness of the whole event in entirety and then get them to take action. So we did a video ad. It was a 15-second video ad that we ran through our digital networks, and really the main goal of a video ad is really to grow awareness versus clicks. But you'll see in the left-hand dot here, we drove 1.78 million impressions on that ad. Of that, we only got 411 clicks, which is good, but that wasn't our main goal. The next number there, stat there, is ad starts. So that video ad started almost 500,000 times throughout that 6 week, or maybe it was like a 4 or 5 week run that we ran that ad. The videos that went to 100% completion were 300,000. So 250,000 videos went to completion from start to the whole 15 seconds. People watched it, and so we know that we're reaching people. They're not necessarily clicking, but we're getting our message out to grow awareness of this event. The next two, completion rate, we had a 65% completion rate, which is above industry standard of about 33. And then the average dwell time was 11% or 11 seconds. So people that didn't see it all the way to the end at 11 seconds, you know how you can say skip ad. The others did that.
Oh, no, you go ahead.
I had a question about the social media likes and shares. Is that considered more marketing click-through conversion side of things, or more on brand awareness?
Well, so there's two sides of social media. So there's the organic side of social media where we're posting, we're engaging our customers. It's not necessarily a paid, it's not driven necessarily by ad dollars. And then we have the ad dollar driven side. And so we calculate them in two separate ways. So we have social media influence, which is on the reports that we do. The social media ad buys that we do are calculated into our digital ad buys. And so to answer your question, our clicks are added into the clicks for the total. And we'll get to a screen that I can maybe even talk about that further. And then conversions would be considered video views or people that were engaging, but they're not necessarily clicking back to our website. Does that answer your question? Maggie?
Yeah, and like when you were saying that the video ad plays, is it just popping up? I mean, maybe I missed that. How do people get that? Have they gone out and searched a travel site, or have they been searched specifically for Morro Bay? And then once they do, then we lock into them,
Right.
and then we show them the video as they're surfing other places.
Right. So
Okay, got it.
So well, no,
what I
I'm just
Yeah.
So what we
Understand.
do, we had it in two places actually. So on YouTube, it would come up on YouTube. We did do a social media ad buy on YouTube, so it would come up there. No, but it's not a search thing. Basically, what it is the digital ad network that we purchased media through. They have a huge network of. Whether it's travel sites or it could be daily newspapers. So that ad then goes through the run of sites of their network, which is vast. And so nobody's searching for it. It's kind of popping up to them. And there are, yeah, and so they're targeting people that, we're basing it on people who like to travel, people who like, outdoor activities. So we do, and we gear it towards an age range as well. Decision makers, generally female, that make travel decisions. And so we do kind of narrow down who's seeing it so that they know where to traffic the ad. But it's finding them. The user's not finding the ad. So just to kind of further kind of show and support this point about engagement, and that while we got less clicks directly to our website, we still had huge engagement numbers. So year over year, the video views on Facebook last year, you can see we had 6,000 views with 1.3 thousand minutes viewed. To 2017, it kicked up to 127 video views on our Facebook page with 30.9 thousand minutes. And I want to, Jen has been really instrumental in making sure that we're developing these video assets. It's the first year we've really been able to do that. I know Travis, who runs our social media, we've been doing a lot of also, shorter videos that, he's been taking, that I've been taking, that are kind of just that user view perspective. But then we do have professionally done videos as well. And I think that's really showing that we're engaging people on Facebook. Once they see the video, they get it, they're understanding, they're learning, they're not necessarily clicking back to our website, but they're on our Facebook page. So that's great. Another factor that we considered too was that this year we also had more event listings on the Morro Bay Tourism Facebook page over last year. And so once we put a listing on the website, as you all are probably familiar, all of the information is there in your news feed. So you get the dates, you get the information, and so on and so forth. A lot of times you don't have to click on it. You just maybe put interested or going, and then that way it'll come back up in your news feed to remind you that, oh yeah, I want to go to this. So when we were promoting ads last year or events last year, we were clicking them back to our website. And so that's kind of, it's like that, 50-50. What, really we want to make it the end user, give them the most, make it as easy as possible for them. So I think we might have lost some clicks in doing that as well. And then,
actually, on that note, is there, because we did talk about maybe a more longer term overhaul of the website or the ultimate landing page that we're trying to get them to, is there any value in channeling all that traffic to, let's say, a Facebook page as opposed to the morrobay.org in the interim period?
Right. So what we've been doing, exactly. So, and Jen, you chime in if you have some comments. But so what we found, so for example, last year, and Rotary does a great job on the boat parade, but there wasn't a boat parade Facebook page last year. And so we were channeling it back to the morrobay.org website. And so that probably got us more clicks. But we feel like as far as, the end user experience is concerned, having that data on the Facebook page is really probably more important. So that's what we did. So Jen and the social media team worked really hard, and Terry Baez, to make sure that all of these events that they had now in Winterfest all had Facebook pages. Maybe you can speak to that.
Yeah, and Sean, one of the things that's really, really key on all this is being able to link it back to Google Analytics and follow it all the way through to track it. So that's one of the reasons. It's not very black and white. It depends on if there's another website set up and if we can track through it or not. So
we run Google Analytics on morrobay.org, whereas
Absolutely.
Facebook has all their own proprietary information. We have to kind of weed through it.
We can get reports,
but the problem that we have on morrobay.org right now is because the way the website is built on this proprietary medium, Google Analytics does not go all the way through, and that's one of the primary reasons why we're going to change it in next year.
Plus, it's rigid, and we have to pass through them
Yeah.
every time we want to make a change. Okay.
Absolutely, yeah.
Right. Thanks, Jen. So, and then just this last note, I wanted to, in 2016, and for the first time in, I don't know, 40 years, we had to change the date of the boat parade. And so, in effect, that actually worked in our favor because it created a lot of buzz. And it makes me think, too, as far as TOT, when I look at that, I'm wondering if it went up last year because people then booked the second weekend. So you had 2 weekends of booking, so we're hoping, let's keep our fingers crossed that was the end result on that. But anyway, so those were the factors that we took into consideration when we looked at those numbers being down this year. And then this is a stat I wanted to show you, that the Kids Passport, this was also launched mid-October. This was a campaign that started in November 1, where kids get free stuff when you stay in hotels. And so these were the results so far. It goes through the end of December. To date, we had 142 redemptions from the Passport versus last year we had 43. But we know that this campaign is driving clicks. People are responding to it. It's doing really well. Last year was phenomenal as far as the numbers go. So just wanted to share that with you. So KPIs and values to stakeholders. I think I kind of covered this, but the quantitative measure performance that helps us to, determine our goals and how to make changes on our marketing plan and so forth. So these are the board-approved key performance indicators that the city reports out. So the TOT, the occupancy, ADR, and RevPAR. So I pulled together year-over-year numbers that we have from 2015-16 to 2016-17. You can see we're up in TOT by 3%. Occupancy was up 1.3%. ADR up 1.4% from $120 to $122. RevPAR was up as well 2.8%, or 2.6%, excuse me. And I also wanted to put here on the bottom too, these numbers are all showing positive, even though one of the key market factors that we all are very aware of is the Highway 1 closed in February. So that reflects 6 or 5 months of having Highway 1 closed. So imagine, the numbers, what they could have been if we had that road open. So these are, I wanted to share these with you guys in case you guys had any questions about this, but these are definitely standard tourism performance indicators. And we all know there's variables, maybe if there's new inventory that came on board or stuff that was in remodel or, just a lot of factors involved. But I think overall, being positive, the 3% on the TOT, I think is definitely something to be proud of at this point. Any questions on this at this point? No? Okay. So now going into the board-approved marketing KPIs that we present to you guys. It's in 3 categories. One is your owned media. Owned media is the website data, the Jackrabbit referrals, that's your booking engine on the site, search and SEO. And to that end, I wanted to kind of show some more stats here as well. So the top section is the November stats that I just kind of went over. We're down 33%. That was, because of the branding approach we took and because of the variance in social media. I wanted to kind of show you fiscal year to date, year over year. So fiscal year to date would be July 1 through November 30th. From 16 to 17. So our website unique visitors are down 4% for that 5 months period year over year. Jackrabbit searches are pretty much flat. I mean, it's all pretty flat across the board. And I wanted to also share some key factors about that, mostly like budgeting is what that is. So from July through November in 2016, we just transitioned out of the Morro Bay Tourism Bureau. Jennifer had just been hired. And, pardon me? Do I have it on there? No, well, I just want to kind of talk about, yeah. So, I mean, I guess I can talk about it here, sure. So, last year, year over year, excuse me. Jennifer had just come on board. We transitioned from that advisory board, tourism bureau, into bringing it into the city. And what had happened during that transition, there was no advertising done in June. There was no advertising set to go in July. And so Jennifer and I thought, wow, great idea. Let's front load the marketing spend. And so from July through November last year, we spent $79,000, so $80,000 on just digital ads, driving with calls to action with the purpose of driving clicks directly to the website, not awareness ads, call to action ads. In comparison to this year, so don't look at these stats because these stats actually include social media as well. But just talking about digital ads to drive clicks and calls to action, year over year, 2017, we only spent $55,000. So with a difference of $25,000. So we really front loaded, July, August, and September, and October last year over this year. So having those numbers, like I was just showing you, be kind of just kind of flat, it kind of makes sense. So we spent $25,000 more to this point on digital advertising, okay, last year. So going forward, we have the exact same budget to finish out the rest of the year, pretty much as far as digital ads are concerned, to drive clicks. On another note, we increased our social media spend this year, so that will have an effect. We also are doing, event-focused e-blasts and so forth. But I didn't want to get those funds into the numbers I'm sharing with you right now. I want to do apples to apples. And so while these numbers are flat, there is a reason for it because we did spend $25,000 more last year at this point. Okay. So now going here. So these are key performance indicators that we share with you guys. The cost that what we're spending on media. This is media, social, and eBlast. So this is a total spend for the month. These are then it goes to impressions, the number of clicks that we're generating to the website, our click-through rate, which industry standard is 0.1. So I think our click-through rate is really, really stable and actually above industry standard. So that's really nice to see. Our cost per click is right in the low 3, upper 2 range there, which is also good, considering what we're spending and considering what we can buy with the numbers that we're spending. Total conversions. Now, those conversions include social media and our e-blasts. So these are people that are opening our e-blasts, that are, looking at videos, that are looking at our ads but not clicking. So all of that is added together.
I have a quick question.
Yes.
And this is a very remedial question. Is when you say impressions, what you mean is the ad came up on a web page that someone opened or had.
Right. So
we don't know that they even looked at it or anything else.
Correct.
I've heard you use that term a lot. I've just never been exactly clear about it.
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah, not a problem. Happy to clarify. Yes, the impressions, and that's how media is sold, digital media. So we're buying impressions. And with the hopes that they're going to see the ad, and then of course the action that they take is that they click on the ad. So they have this is as well industry standard across all industries. The only thing that really varies is like what the click-through rates are for different industries. But travel industry rates are we're hitting and doing even better. So we're doing good. And then, then the total conversions, and then of course the cost per conversion, and then our conversion rate is what we report out on that. So if you have any questions, and I'm happy to answer any questions by email. If you ever look at the reports and you're like, what is Mary Ann talking about? Just go ahead and email me. I'm absolutely happy to talk with you guys. Going on to, these are, I should have probably clicked this. These are our paid media. So before was the web stats. Those are your owned media. You guys own that media, and those are those are the stats that we give you. These are your paid media stats because these are this is the ad buys. And then this is your earned media. So earned media is your public relations influence, throughout the region, throughout the state. Also social influence. We also contribute to SEO influence. And then, of course, the ad and publicity value. So these are the key performance indicators that we report on as far as our public relations. So earned media impressions, again, that term there, Maggie, and in this case, it is UVPMs, and what that means is unique visitors per month. What that means is we had, throughout all the articles that we generated through our public relations to grow awareness, we generated 385 million unique visitors per month from those websites. And we get those statistics from Simple Web. It's a site that we use that tracks that stuff. We're not calculating it on our own. We have an algorithm and all that stuff, and they help us figure that out. And then we figure out ad equivalency. So for the month of November, we calculated that all of those UVPMs calculated out to about $2.1 million of ad buys. Like if we had bought those third-party endorsements from the media, that's what it would have cost us.
I have a question about that, not related to the media, but in terms of that hybrid area between organic and bot. Do we ever reach out to trendsetters, decision makers, Instagram famous people, personalities, and purchase organic advertising?
So then that's a great question. Because that's kind of a hybrid, and what that becomes is native advertising, what they're calling it, or you might be more familiar with advertorial. So it's kind of like, yes, I mean, there's a lot of that out there, and it's expensive, but it just depends on what your goals are. So you can, and it depends on how high profile the person is as well. So the higher the profile, the higher the rate, right? So yeah, there's a lot of pay-to-play bloggers out there, travel bloggers. A lot of Fortune 500 companies have that kind of budget, and they're out there. They're hiring the Kardashians of the world to make a mention on Instagram for $500,000, because those budgets, can afford that. And the brand already is that high in awareness. So we do that. We have had programs like that where we've had paid bloggers that we've had come in, and we paid them like $500 or something, and they write a blog for us, and we host them. Versus the media, the organic media that we bring in, we host them. We don't pay them to write. The difference is, the paid media, we can say, okay, this is what we want you to write about. We're paying you, so we get to, make the call on the talking points. The organic media that comes in, they're professional journalists, and they write based on their experiences, and that's what we want, because a lot of times they'll uncover ideas that we haven't even thought of from their own experiences.
I think just to follow up on that, I think that there's also might be an opportunity because we need to think a little bit smaller. We can't get the Kardashians. That perhaps there's room for us to incentivize anyone with over 500 followers to share a hashtag that's more Obey related for a small, in the same way that we might incentivize a Kids Passport participant to, right. I think Junk Love was one of the highest conversion rates. They probably gave away the best thing, maybe.
Yeah. And they didn't have a cost. They didn't have a purchase along with it. Go ahead.
But just thinking in smaller, there are plenty of people out there with 500 followers or 1,000 followers that wouldn't cost $1,000 to post a share slow or whatever our Morobay equivalent is.
Right. So that would be like a hashtag campaign, and we do have ideas for that. And it's just, and we've had them on paper, and we've talked about them, and maybe also putting signage up for selfie spots throughout town, and then putting hashtag signage there. And we've talked about those things, and that's definitely something that's on our radar, hopefully for next year. So, but that's a great point. Thank you for mentioning that. So
let me talk a little bit more about the hosted journalists really quick, just for the board. So the PR packet that you get every month from Marianne that shows all the PR that's been seen nationally and sometimes internationally. So when we host journalists, it costs me roughly about $1,000 per journalist to host. That includes activities, food, lodging, everything that they need for whether it's a family sometimes, or it might just be independent. It just depends on whatever that person does. So Mary Ann's team sends over, they vet the different journalists, and they send over their profiles to my office every month. And I go through them, and then we also go through them and vet them out again and decide if they are correct for our market or not. We don't approve all of them. So we're very, very picky about who we bring in, only because our dollars are limited, Sean. So I have $25,000 in that budget for hosting journalists every year. So that's about 25 journalists. Sometimes we get more if I can, spend less money, but that's roughly what we try to do. We try to host them usually midweek and shoulder season, trying to, again, push. We really try to drive our specific, keep KPIs. We really try to stay targeted on that. So if we have more money, of course we can do more, but we're trying to get the best bang for our buck right now. Is what it all boils down to.
Thanks, Jen. Okay. So just to complete the list here, so publicity value is basically calculated as the amount of people that actually, on top of just the numbers, on top of just the ad equivalency, that's the value based on how many people they actually think saw the media. Press release pickups. So we send out a press release over the wire every month, and it gets picked up on up to 200 media outlets nationwide. And it's usually news outlets, dailies, or not dailies, but TV news, a lot of broadcast, a lot of business news. And so per day, our press releases for the month of November that were picked up received 82.7 million visitors per day, which calculated out to make the stats, apples to apples, 248.1 billion unique visitors per month. And we know not everyone is obviously seeing those stats. But in that packet that gets sent out to you guys, we do include the estimate. We calculate out with a company that we work with an algorithm that estimates out what they think the potential views are, and I'll talk about that again in a minute when we get to those, showing you some media. Another way that the social media or the news that we get, the press that we get shared is, is through social media, and we are able to track how many times the articles are shared. And what we call that is kind of, the word's not coming to me, but syndication. It's kind of like how Oprah Winfrey, was syndicated across the country. She's really only on one network in Chicago, but everybody saw her. So she was syndicated. Social media shares, that's kind of how we look at that. Excuse me. It's like the syndication of these articles through social media, sharing and sharing and sharing again. So we know that exponentially more and more people are seeing these articles. They're being delivered right into their news feeds. And actually, November was kind of low. I mean, already for December, with our results tracking, it's already over 3,000 shares for the media we received for December. So this was kind of on the low end. And then organic web hits, I wanted to touch on that through all of, part of the value of all of those press release pickup impressions is that when people are searching for Morro or about otters or about Christmas or about Winterfest, the spiders go out, and all that content is trackable by Google, by Bing, by all the search engines. And so this press release that went out in November received over 1,200 spider hits from search engines. So it does actually go back and support SEO functions on our site. Excuse me. Let's see. Okay, so KPIs, what's next? So Jen and I have been talking, we know we're kind of getting up here to March is 2 months away now. And talking about, stakeholders meeting, really how are we going to involve KPIs? I think that's the big question. And I know that's really what came up at that town hall with the VRs is, okay, how do we connect the actual numbers, these numbers, these KPIs to bookings? How do we connect them to revenue? How do we connect them to these specific travel-related analytics? And so we've been doing some research at Mental, and we did find a company that can help us potentially get there. And I'm just going to touch on it today. We're probably going to go into more at the stakeholder meeting. But basically, a challenge of the current KPIs is access to actionable travel research and data regarding bookings, revenue, and user profiles. So Visit SlowCal last year did a great research project, and it costs thousands and thousands of dollars for those. They're going out on the streets and they're asking people individually and they're doing surveys and they're quantifying the data, and it costs a lot of money. And that's why they probably, people don't do that every year. But we had access to that, so that helped us make some marketing decisions this year. We also, last year, we ran the database, like 19,000 on your database, Jen. It's got a really nice sized database that they send out, eBlast from the office. And we reverse profiled that data, and we got some really great information about who our customer is, and that helped us to guide some of our marketing decisions as well. Because otherwise, we're guessing, right? It's in a vacuum. We can use the data we have and go, okay, make the most intelligent, estimate possible for our marketing decisions. These are the $1 million questions we want to have answered. What web email content is driving bookings? What is the campaign to spend bookings revenue connection? You know what I mean? We can tell you all these KPIs we have now, but we can't necessarily, even the STAR report, it's still not everybody reports on that. We all know that. What DMAs are driving revenue? Who is doing the booking? What ADR comes from what region? And where are they booking if they're not booking here? And so these are some new measurements that we're talking about right now. And kind of, vetting out a company that can offer this information to us. And so we would go from the old way of impressions that we talked about today a lot to confirmed bookings. That would be our new KPI. From clicks to hotel revenue. From click-through rate to quality of the trip. From landing page visits to actionable content. And instead of using research firms, you guys would own your own real-time data. And just a quick overview on what that is a company that we've been working with and have been working with for years has a new product. And it's a travel company that has 175 partners globally, from all the flags to all the airports to, and they have made relationships with these travel-specific partners that those partners share proprietary data. And our digital company we're working with has now launched a program that they now can track with their customers. They put pixels all over a website, so it would be through our website. They would track every single page, and they would be able to track where people are booking, how much they're spending on their bookings. We would be able to answer these questions. We would be able to say, okay, the event listings drive the most bookings. We would be able to know what content on our website drives the most bookings. And so we are just trying to keep it calm, because this is really cool data. And so we're really just digging in deeper, but we wanted to share this with you today because we had the KPI discussion. So we know there needs to be a next level. We know there needs to be a next step. And so we want you guys to know that we are working on that. And so at this point, if you guys have any more questions about this, I'd love to take them.
I have a question.
Sure.
So I have a really basic question that is kind of like a basic education question
Sure.
for me and maybe for some of our audience, because on a bigger topic, I think so much of our budget from the bid is spent on marketing, publicity, and public relations, which is you in total. And then we have our management staff, which is not part of that necessarily. So I feel like a lot of times our audience, which is who we work for, gets confused by all of this, because I know I get confused. It's so much.
It's a lot.
Which is part of why it's expensive. I'd like to point that out. So my basic question is, because I feel like these kind of basic questions I want to point out, give a lot of truth to what this is all about. I have this email from Walter Heath I was reading, and it made me question a lot of things. He's talking about these ads he has for Facebook with pictures that have click-throughs to morrowbay.org, and he's talking about how 1,895 click-throughs to morrowbay.org website with $2,400 of a $2,800 budget spent equals $1.26 per click. Do we pay for every click-through?
Let me think about this.
So like when you're doing these ads, the more people that click, we pay for every click-through to morrowbay.org?
No, but we can't speak to how Walter set his up because he managed his ad budget for his event. So,
Yeah.
So
so you're aware.
So
Tyler.
so that's my question is he's saying that he spent all that money on click-throughs to morrowbay.org?
He may have. And like as to Jen's point, maybe that was the way he set it up, or that was the media that he bought. So we do pay for clicks, like for example, Google. We do ads on Google, and that is pay-per-click. So and we don't pay anything unless somebody clicks on the ad that we have for that specific product that we bought. But the digital ads that we buy impressions. So that is how digital advertising is sold, is by impressions, digital ad networks and so forth. And so
the more people that view it, the more expensive it is.
No, it's the same price. So if we buy, we buy 1,000 impressions, then we do our ad creative. It's going to depend on how well we do our creative, how well we do our call to action as to whether or not somebody's going to click on it. So we buy impressions, then we put together a campaign that we feel is compelling, that has a compelling offer, and that's how we're getting clicks. So we're not paying per click. We can get as many clicks as we want. We bought 1,000, or I'm going to say more like 1 million impressions, and then however many clicks we get.
So in the same email, he says, the other ongoing and featured the same scene that is depicted on the front page of the exhibit map, but drove traffic to morrowbay.org website. The ad ended yesterday after spending $1,000 with 1,242 click-throughs to the morrowbay.org website at 81 cents per click. So again, is he saying he's spending that amount of money on each click?
In his case, yes. So that's a Facebook-only campaign that he did. Different than what Marianne's talking about, which is wide web. He did that specifically on Facebook.
Yeah, and I know that as I watched the video about what we're going to be talking about soon in this meeting about the RV rentals, and every time people talk to me or I get emails, so much of the public feedback I get is lost in these. What you're talking about here is the how to me. And so much of what I feel like the public wants is not so much the how, but what are the dollar results? What is the TOT results? And I totally get how this is a liquid thing, this thing that you're describing, what you do. And and then when you talk about spending $1.26 per click or 81 cents per click, this is something that didn't exist when I graduated high school, which was only, 18 years ago? And so I feel like, I was very moved by the video that I watched of these people with vacation rentals and RV parks and hotels and talking about our city. And what I keep coming back to is that we need to show them how we're shaping the city with this industry, which we're saying is responsible for the future of our city. And what I see is sitting here, because I've been here, this is like my third or fourth year sitting in this chair, what I see is that so much of what we intend to do is through you. And what you present to us is the how, which is amazing and overwhelming. And in no way could I tell you how to do it. So as you're telling it to me, I'm like, this sounds good. this sounds good, and next month it's going to be different, and the month after that it's going to be different, and of course my audience is going to be like, whatever, Taylor, like, where's the results, right? And I don't believe that they can watch these videos, that thing that's in front of me right now of me talking, and understand what you're saying. I think they try because I'm trying. I'm not a stupid person. And I don't believe they can understand the how. And they shouldn't, because that's why we pay you, is to figure out the how. And what I want to know is, I would love to have clear data to give them of, here's our TOT dollar results in a 3 to 4 month period, and here's our investment dollar-wise in some way in marketing. We need to have the how. Of course, that's our responsibility for you to describe the how to us. But does our audience want the how? They want you to work your butt off, guaranteed. And you're showing us that you're working your butt off. But what they need is for us to give them a simple comparison, like the beautiful, simple comparison you do of TOT. That little simple, you make it so simple for us. And we all know that that's what everybody wants. It's a simple little table. And if you could do that somehow, where we could have, because I know your work doesn't transcribe to being, we did this month and here's the results this month. You do something and we don't see results for 4 months. So that's what I see from your how. Is there some way that we could have a similar table to give to our audience, where like you do all this description of marketing and public relations, and somehow it's like here's our TOT dollar value, which is our results, and here's our investment in marketing in these different categories. Because I don't understand what 81 cents per click is different than $1.26 per click. That is meaningless to me.
Yeah. I think probably the best way to show it, Taylor, is at our half-yearly budget review. We can show, at that point, where we spent on the budget and how it's translated into TOT. And then again at our annual stakeholders meeting, same thing. On a monthly basis, it's really difficult, like you said, because it doesn't track same. So whatever she's spending right now is, to book January, February. It's not to book today. So it's not very black and white. It is difficult.
I completely agree with you. I completely agree with you, but I do feel like we need to show more of an effort explaining to them how we're spending this bid money to get results. Because it's not just about TOT and hotels and vacation rentals and trailer parks and marketing and public relations and publicity. It's about the future of our city. And that does not belong to the businesses. The future of this city belongs to the citizens. And I have a lot more to talk about that in a little bit.
I'm just going to kind of add that that was the general sentiment of most of the town hall meeting back in October. That a lot of people voiced that similar sentiment as Taylor's voicing, and I do appreciate that this is one step in the right direction. Today's presentation is one step in the right direction towards even presenting the new measurement metrics that are available. At least presents some light at the end of the tunnel, because we did want to. We talked about ROI and simplifying, and that is all essential because it is next to impossible to prove value to some of these people. So I appreciate the first step in that direction.
Thank you.
Yeah, I in no way am I downgrading what you do. I feel like Jen said, like, we need more money to spend more money on you to do this for us, because I can't do what you're doing, and there's no way I could build a business to do what you're doing in the time that it takes to do it, because Morro Bay needs these dollars now. We need our TOT to go up now. Mm-hmm. And we don't have a backup plan to that from my position. So we've chosen you to lead us in this. You're our Sir Lancelot. And we don't have a backup plan.
No.
I'm all about that. The Guinevere was just a lot more complicated.
I think what's really great, Taylor, is these new stats, the possibility. So this is not just you guys. I mean, any DMO is going to tell you they have the same problem. It's just not. It's so organic. It's hard to track. And these new possibilities through Adara that they're talking about being able to show confirmed bookings. I mean, we're all very excited about that. What that'll mean cost-wise, we'll have to see. I haven't seen any estimates yet, but the fact that they have that possibility, I'm thrilled about finally.
Yeah, I agree. I also want to put out that our audience that we're talking about is, from what I'm seeing, not a majority of a young audience. These are people that are people of my parents' age, even parents of my people of my grandparents' age, and they need to have a simple description. And they're not going to understand $1.26 per click and 81 cents per click and everything you're talking about. I don't believe they are going to. And they need results now because they're not looking at what's going to happen to their business in 40 years. They want to see what happens to their business in the next 10 years, what happens to their business this very year. And in my position, especially since I don't own a hotel and I don't own my position is all about what the people want. And what I'm trying to do with my time that I volunteer up here, which has become a lot since I've been doing this now for 3 to 4 years.
I have a comment, and thank you first off, Marianne, for everything you're doing. And I agree that clarity is good, and we're going in the right direction. And I think you understand what the board is saying, just to show the value to the stakeholders.
Right.
Our company, my family's been managing hotels since the 70s. And what we found is looking at historical data, whether that's 1 year, 2 year, 5 years in the past, 10 years in the past. In all honesty, there was a time when I questioned the value of marketing assessment districts. And then I look back 10, 15 years before these things existed in a good economy in summertime when it was slow and people just didn't know about a certain area. So that convinced me. Now, how do we quantify that through this data and demonstrate that to the stakeholders and to our audience? I don't want to overcomplicate it or put even more data on the screen, but I think if you can show historically a year or 2, 3 years back, that might help.
Right. I appreciate that, and I think that's something Jen and I are talking about for our reports going forward.
Well, I just want to comment that the work that you've done on the KPIs is really important to me and to our board and to our constituents to understand, to simplify the graphics that we see, to put it into a better perspective that's more understandable in layman terms rather than in business or hotelier or marketing terms. So that the cost is yet to be determined from Adara, but I really am going to push for that, not just for the board, but for all of our constituents. And I think that SlowCal is also on board with that. And so this could be a really big thing, not only for Morro Bay, but for the entire county. So good work, Marianne.
Thank you, sir. So I think that takes us to some just, there we go. It was just wanted to also show you some of our sample PR coverage from last month. And so we got a great article from Mary Forgione in the LA Times. On your next road trip north, break up the drive with these 5 leg stretchers. And you can see our rock in the background. This was one of this was the head photo in the article. And so monthly visits, so that's the unique visitors per month, UVPMs, 74.8 million. And this is what I was talking about earlier, estimated coverage views. So, because a lot of people, and I hear you so much, Taylor, in what you're saying, because a lot of people, especially our parents' generation and the next, they really, that have not adopted the new technology, it doesn't make any sense to them. And so a lot of people will say, well, there's a potential, we know that 74.8 million people a month visit latimes.com. But how many people are actually seeing this article? And so estimated coverage views is a calculation, it's a logarithm that was developed, or an algorithm, developed to figure out what we think the actual number is of people that see this article. And so the estimated, that's what this is. Estimated coverage views calculates out to 34,000 people that saw this article, which is pretty great. Los Angeles Times. So this was this was in the print publication in the Sunday Times. These numbers come from, a calculation of an online magazine with the page turner kind of, where they get 135 million or 1.35 million a year or a month. Estimated coverage views on this would have been 619. But I do want to add that this was actually in the print of the LA Times, and that they get about 600,000 distribution every Sunday on that. And then Worth the Trip. This is NBC Los Angeles, a great blog that they have that, as you can see, they get 1.89 million visits a month on that. This was about the Winter Bird Festival, and that the anticipated coverage views that 4,280 people probably saw this article. So just wanted to throw those in there and let you see some of the press that we got from November as well. So any final questions for me today? No? Okay. Thanks, you guys. I really appreciate your time today. And again, I'm available if you have further questions after we leave, which we all know happens, right?
Thank you, Marianne. Jennifer, I think you're up.
I think you need to do public comment on that last item.
I'd like to open the floor to public comment for our marketing and promotions. Seeing none, I'd like to keep on moving. Jennifer.
Next up, we're going to talk about staff report on vacation rentals and RV parks.
I have to recuse myself from this as a vacation rental owner. Unfortunately, the city, in a kind of a backwards way, wrote a charter for this board that disallows vacation rental owners from speaking about things that they have financial interest, even though everyone up here has financial interest in the decision that is about to be made. So per the city attorney, I will recuse myself and be a member of the public.
And was it ruled that I have to recuse myself, or I can, okay.
No, your position is a hotel seat on the board. So Sean is allowed to sit in the audience and make public comment on the agenda item, and then when you go into your deliberation, he will leave the room so the board can deliberate about what to do, okay? So this comes from our town hall meeting that we had on October 24th, and we have a lot of stuff to talk about on this, so feel free to interrupt me and ask questions as we go through it, and I'm interested to see what all of you think about where we're kind of going with it. So the town hall meeting was on October 24th, and it was the possibility of including vacation rentals and recreational vehicle campgrounds into the business improvement district. The meeting was very well attended, I thought, by a good cross-section of the public. The initial consideration was to bring in VRs and RVs at the same position that the hotels are, which is a 3% assessment. And based on the feedback from that October 24th meeting, the board requested for staff to go back and look at various options and possible different percentages of where to bring in vacation rentals and RVs. Okay. A couple things that I just wanted to have a discussion about. I put up some things that I pulled from, this is from TripAdvisor, the CEO, Stephen Koffer, and a couple things that he just has mentioning about vacation rentals, that he's saying that the market is experiencing growth, and it's still fragmented in notable ways, and there's a lot of ambiguity in travelers' rental experience, and that's mainly because owners are renting out their houses, so there's not a quality level that's consistent across the board. And if you go on to what else he says, he talks about the fact that now that there are a lot of management companies coming into the situation, he sees the vacation rental market starting to change and grow and be more consistent, and he thinks that the future is very broad for vacation rentals, and it will grow quite a bit just based on getting that management structure in place and having vacation rental visitors come and know that they're going to have a consistent product. So I think that's all good for us to know. Currently, there's only 1 in 10 Americans that have rented a vacation rental home, so the potential is very high for this to grow as the quality increases. At the town hall meeting, staff received community input, and we also got a lot of emails and letters received as well. Based upon that inputs, the staff recommendation is to bring in the VRs and RVs into the TBID starting July 2018 and a 1% assessment. By recommending this 1% assessment for RVs and VRs, TBID recognizes the benefit received by Morro Bay vacation rental operators and RV park owners for the existing tourism marketing and public relation efforts. As all of you know, the PR that we do for the destination, it runs about $150,000 a year that we spend right now on that. That does not include paid media that Mental Marketing does to place ads for the destination as well. That's strictly on a PR side. So they are getting that value right now. And so that's kind of where I was looking at, is that's the best way to go, is to look at what they're currently getting that would have low impact on staff and how to move them forward. So I had our city treasurer pull some numbers for you guys to look at, and I think these are really interesting. This shows you actuals for 2016-17 for trailer parks and vacation rentals, and I had her pull. So right now when we look at our TOT report for hotels, we clearly show how it's increased, whether it's gone up or down on a monthly basis. And that has not been put into place it's on the PowerPoint. I'm sorry, you guys, it's not in your packet. So I see you all looking there. So I just had her drop these in so we can clearly see on a monthly basis how trailer parks and how RV rentals are doing. And you'll see the change month to month goes up and down. Trailer parks comes in at the year end at a 2% increase, where vacation rentals were up 29% as far as their receipts and tax collected for 16-17. There are some really high numbers for vacation rentals. There's October's 42% and January's 61%, and then April is 89%. I haven't done research into that yet. I'm wondering if that has to do with possibly increased licenses, maybe when the city was changing that. I mean, this was, really the beginning of where the city was, changing kind of the structure of that and how many licenses they were allowing. So that might be possibly why those numbers are so much higher than the other months. And then at the bottom is, she did an overall evaluation from 2011 to current 2017, how vacation rentals and RV park have grown, and they've been pretty consistent across the board as increasing year over year. Can you guys see that over there? Is it too hard to see? So I'm so sorry. So let me just read you some numbers. So 2012, vacation rentals grew 11%, RVs grew 4%. 2013 were 11 and 6. 2014, vacation rentals 16% and RVs 7%. 2015, vacation rentals 34% and RVs 8%. 2016, 22% for vacation rentals and 11% for RVs. And then 2017 was 29% for vacation rentals and 2% for RVs. It's pretty good growth.
Jen?
Yes.
Could we get that emailed to us so
You
that
bet.
we could review it properly?
You bet. I'd be glad to, Taylor. Not a problem. So if we look at bringing in VRs and RVs at 1%, that I put together kind of an outline of what that looks like for vacation rentals. That would be $42,000 into the budget, and for RVs it would be $22,000. Projecting out for 2018, it goes up slightly. It's $46,000 for vacation rentals and $23,000 for RV parks. You had also asked us to look at doing 3%, 2%, and 1%, and that was part of the initial staff report that was presented back last September. So I put that grid back in there for you to see again, but you have already seen that. Questions? No? One of the things that was brought up was, do we develop a separate TBID board for vacation rentals and RV parks separate from what we do here? And I have very big concerns about that. It would probably require another full-time staff member on my side to manage that, which would probably eat up a good portion of that 1% coming into their own bid. Plus, that does not account for my time as a tourism manager and what I would have to allocate for that. So right now I have 2 part-time staff members. They each work 32 hours a week. And we manage 37 hotels, and we are actively out at those hotels all the time. So, like today, they're going out and giving them all new visitor guides and restocking them with passports. And so it's a constant effort to make sure that all the hotels have the things that they need to adequately market Morro Bay. And if we added 250 vacation rental homes on top of that, I don't know how we would do that. I just don't see that effectively working well. So my recommendation is to not give them a separate TBID, to have them be part of our current one. Does that make sense to you guys? You understand that? Any questions? No? Feel free to just yell if I'm missing anything.
Jen, I had a question. I was not able to attend the town hall meeting, but honestly, I listened to every single comment. It was a long meeting. Thank you guys for sitting through that. I thought one of the questions was to look at reducing TBID down to 2% across the board and see how that would level out, bringing in vacation rentals and RVs and lowering it for the hotels to 2%. Or did we look at that?
I know that there was discussion back in the September meeting when Connie presented staff report at possibly, he thought the break even was at 2.5%. But that does not allow for growing the market. It's just a break even. So my recommendation would be to keep it at 3% at this time.
2.5% would be break even?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
That was
Thank you.
his initial findings, yes. And Stephen, the staff report for September is in your packet and should have that detail on that as well.
But to that point, Jennifer, at least in the subcommittee, we did talk about, at this point, not addressing the reduction of hotel TBID assessment, but perhaps doing it next year. And I know that's, it's not on the table to even be discussed. But just FYI, in our subcommittee meeting, we did talk about that. And perhaps going from the 1989 rules to the 1994 rules at that same time. So I think I personally would like to see that be tabled for now and brought up again in the next cycle, for the next year.
Can I ask why that would be tabled? I know that was a point of discussion at the town hall meeting.
I think our sentiments was it was asking for too much change at once. Like, there's a million different scenarios. One is, do we just get the VRs and RVs in at some level, whatever, 1%, 2%, 3%, and then, but do you tackle at the same time getting all the hoteliers together to agree to the lowered percentage? And also to agree to changing the rules or not changing the rules. I think it's a lot to take on, between now and July. That was kind of the sentiment I had from the conversations that we had in the subcommittee. But please.
No, you're correct, Maggie. Does that answer it, Stephen? Not really.
My comment on that is because this is such a open conversation that has years of how many years? I mean, if we created the TBID how many years ago, and they were initially talking about vacation rentals and trailer parks being part of it. I mean, I've heard Joan Solo talk about this and why it didn't happen and all these different pieces of data. I mean, we shouldn't table anything. We should discuss everything. I feel like I'm unwilling to not discuss something that I feel is important.
Taylor, I don't think it's so much tabling the discussion. I think that we're working with the subcommittee to create steps, and those steps would bring us closer to the 94 Act, which I know we're not really talking about today, but what we're looking at is a way to, I want to say, sort of level the field or bring them into the fold because they're already receiving benefits, and we felt that this way we could get the group larger, so we would have the VRs and RVs together to assist in marketing and promotion for Morro Bay and make it inclusive rather than, hey, we're just the hotels here, because they're benefiting and we want them to be part of it, and they understand that. It's a lot of work to put a T-bid together, just the basics of it, but to move from the 84 to the 94 Act would be beneficial, I think, because it gives us a 5-year term. And for us as the subcommittee, we wanted to make it not as difficult for everyone. We wanted to make it, again, inclusive, but also give opportunity to have them speak, which they did at the town hall. And we came up with what we feel was a very equal, fair way to have them join us and assist in our marketing efforts. Not to table it, but to also continue this discussion as we move forward into next year.
I totally understand that. I feel like this is an ongoing conversation, that there's going to be more opportunity for public feedback. And right now we should be talking about what the subcommittee proposes, what us as individuals feel, opportunity for the public to feedback on that. It's an ongoing rolling conversation. So to pull or say, hey, let's not talk about this at this point seems not part of the ongoing process. So I don't disagree with what the subcommittees propose, but that's not necessarily what I propose.
So when we first looked at bringing them in, Taylor, and we were talking about bringing them in at an equal rate, that was reasonable to reduce down the rate to 2.5 because you're not trading dollars. Right now, if we bring them in at 1% and then we reduce down hotels, you're just trading dollars. It doesn't do enough for what we need it to do. And what we're really trying to do is offset the huge amount of expense that we have right now to promote the destination that's not being covered.
So my response that I'm not saying is that, in my opinion, the TOT dollar value of what we get every year is dependent upon marketing. And marketing is paid for not by the TOT, but by the bid. So that means that for us to increase the TOT, we need to maintain the current bid level or increase the bid level. In this market, we have many players that have a voice in this, but at the same time, we also have a city that is dependent upon it that may or may not have a voice in it. I know that a lot of my constituents, people that I represent, don't own homes, don't own businesses, cannot find places to rent, cannot find trailer parks to live in. So since I'm already there, let's just point it out. As you take away every trailer park and give it to vacation clients, as you take away every private residence and turn it into a vacation rental, you've decreased the amount of affordable housing in this city. So as we propose to allow more places to turn their residences into businesses, we decrease the available housing for the people who make up this city. And us looking at this as the industry of our future means that our children and the people who want to live here, who have a right to live here, because this is America, and we have a right to live anywhere we want, that decreases the opportunity for them to do so. So when I'm told that an individual, and it doesn't matter their age, that they own a home that has enough housing for them to turn multiple rooms or multiple buildings on their property into vacation rentals, for them to make top dollar out of their asset with as little of a cost or liability good for them. But at the same time, isn't that one of the greatest problems with capitalism in our nation? Is the selfishness of capitalism. And I would be so afraid to think that businesses and individuals could not see that. That could not see that as we take away land and turn it into hotels, as we take away housing and turn it into vacation rentals, as we take away trailer parks and turn them into places where you can only stay temporarily, we decrease where people can live in this city.
Can I interrupt here? Because
I'm
I think
still
we're
on the mic, I think, though, right?
Okay.
But you can't interrupt when I'm on the mic, right? Well, you're still doing it. My point is that we're talking today about the bid. And our bid needs as much money as we can put into it. At the same time, we're talking about how we're using our city not only as a destination that we market, but also as a place where people live. So we need to remember that. So I'm all for us bringing the RVs and the trailer parks into the bid however we can do it. I also think that we all need to be paying, they all need to be paying into the 3%. I think we need more money, not less. And on the back end, I'm not feeling compassionate towards these, what I see as businesses, when I see so many people unable to find housing and so many people unable to find jobs. I feel like we need to have a balance. And if a bid increases the amount of jobs so that people can have jobs so they can afford housing, that's a good thing. And that's my argument here. I just had a statement and I wasn't deliberating anybody, correct?
I just want to make sure that we're clear on that.
I was clearly not deliberating anybody.
Got it.
Why are we deliberating?
Correct, I wasn't deliberating anybody.
That's fine.
And I
You're fine.
appreciate it, Taylor. I appreciate the statement. I think it's important to get facts. And, the facts are we've limited vacation rentals. We have a limited number. We're not allowing any more vacation rentals, as I know. We're not going to be from my knowledge, if we are, then that's something that I need to know about. RV parks that are transient parks, I don't know of any current trailer courts that are transitioning into transient parks. And I'm not sure, and this would be a question maybe for you, Scott, are we increasing our vacation rentals, and are we transitioning trailer courts that are for permanent housing into trailer parks for transient? And because I understand part of my issue here as an employer is trying to get staff and trying to make sure that they have a place to live, that they can. And a lot of my staff live in Santa Maria and Paso Robles. Taylor, I have jobs open for people who want to come in. I am constantly looking for good local employees. I'm having a very difficult time finding them. So if you know people who are looking for work, hotels are hiring. So there again, there's a comment for you and a question for you, Scott.
Good discussion. I came from Santa Cruz, where the city council tackled the whole VR discussion in 5-hour, 6-hour deliberations with hundreds of people showing up who are very passionate about both sides of the equation, property rights versus affordable housing, because Santa Cruz is the 4th least affordable place in the world now. So definitely understand the concern and trepidation in trying to strike a balance. So city council has put a moratorium on vacation rentals at 250. That discussion will be coming back next year, and it'll be a very thoughtful, comprehensive discussion to balance all of these competing needs. I can't answer the question. I'd be totally speculating about trailer parks and what's going on there. I haven't been here long enough to know the ins and outs of that, so I can't really offer an answer. But the VR is this. It's going to be a very important discussion next year with City Council.
Thank you.
2018 being a week away, correct?
It's fiscal July, right?
I'm talking about calendar year next year. Council will most likely be taking this up.
So you're saying there's a possible increase within the next 12 to 14 months.
I can't speculate what council's going to do.
But it's
I'm
a
just saying
possibility.
There's a possibility it can go either direction.
Correct. So within the next 12 to 14 months, we can increase vacation rentals over the 250, and it's held correct. I mean, get me wrong. I thought it was held at 200, and there's 50 waiting on the waiting list.
Okay, yeah, that's probably
Right?
Yeah, that's probably right.
So
Yeah.
It's 250, and there's 60 on the waiting list.
So there's 60 on the waiting list, which puts us at 310 possible, correct? And then if the council decides to increase that, you would increase it even higher than that, correct? And that could happen the next year.
Right.
Okay.
Can you clarify? And I hear what Charlie and Maggie are recommending here, and the procedure for making sausage is usually not very pretty, right? Are we able to comment and give a recommendation annually on this going forward, or how does that work?
Right now, we're just having discussion about it. We're not going to make a recommendation yet. But yes, we will make a recommendation to council. If you can all come together collectively and vote. We have to have 4 vote. Is that right, Lori? We have to have all 4 vote in agreement to take it to council as a recommendation.
But is that going to be an annual event going forward?
So what we're proposing is the 1-year inclusion of vacation rentals and RV parks at 1%. And then that would have to come back around and look at it again, and that might be when we possibly change the 5-year law.
So currently, we look to make a proposal to the city council. The city council will then review it, and then that would be their decision too,
Right. And there's a very lengthy,
based on our recommendation.
very lengthy process spelled out in the code, and also provides an opportunity to review kind of the broader question that you're raising, Steve, about the 3% for hotels and motels, and trying to find that balance. Having a year to look at that will allow us to look at how our monies are working, maybe how they're not working, what the stable rate is, what it means to increase economic development opportunities, because, as Taylor's mentioned, TOT is our backbone. We'd like to see more diversification of our economy. That's what I'm looking at, and I think our council is very interested in that, but at this time, TOT drives much of the community resources that everybody depends upon for the livelihood and a quality of life. But next year, we should be able to have a good discussion about the overall rate.
And I just, when we have these discussions, I always want to clarify, because the TOT, the 10% that goes to the city, everybody pays equally, right? The T-bid, which is responsible at this point for promoting tourism and heads and beds, is funded by the T-bid money, which is that additional 3%. So, we interchange those terms, and I think it gets confusing because
Absolutely. Yeah.
I'll pay, the TOT helps us keep firefighters and streets there and, street lights on and all that. So,
Just to talk a little bit more, Taylor, about your thought of should they be paying higher into the bid like a hotel is. So think about this. So we have our 37 hotels that are on our website right now. If we take that website, we bring vacation rentals in at the same rate, and they all go on our website, now we have over 300 listings for hotel rooms or room nights that you could stay at a vacation rental. How are the hotels going to compare? What is that going to do to their bottom line? It's going to stifle hotels. It's going to be really difficult for them.
Can I respond to you?
Of course.
So
Yeah.
I disagree completely. As I travel, which I do a lot for my business, I just got back from Italy. I just got back from San Diego. I visited the Maritime Academy down there. I'll be going to Los Angeles and San Francisco in December. Every single month for my work, I travel. I in no way want to stay at someone's house. I want to stay at a hotel every single time. I get incredible deals in the hotels. I love somebody having to clean up after me every day. It's the whole point for me. I love the way a hotel's set up. I just stayed at this, the Westin in San Diego, and the bed was incredible. I slept better than I've slept since I was 13 years old. I don't believe I'm going to get that at a vacation rental. Okay, I'm not going to get that at a trailer park. I disagree. When I travel for business and for pleasure, I always want to stay in a hotel. And with my current, how I get my deals, I link it with my travel package. And I never look at vacation rentals.
Okay, so we operate 5 hotels. 2 of those, Scott mentioned Santa Cruz County, are actually residential condominium complexes that operate as a bed and breakfast. It's basically the same thing. They're condominiums. The only difference is legally we're required to have an on-site 24-hour manager there. Yes, we do get some walk-in business. It's less than 10%. I don't think it even pays for the extra staffing that's required. So I know both industries. It's not easy to run a hotel in Morro Bay. The number of hotel rooms you have compared to your number of residents, it's almost 1 per 10, rough figures, rounded figures. Other markets we're in, it's, Capitola is more 1 to 35. Aptos is 1 to like 75. On top of that, with TOT rates and marketing assessment districts and what we pay city, county, state, you've got one of the highest combined rates anywhere in California. It's tough. So if is a conversation we initially get vacation rentals and RVs in at 1% and look at that at a later date? Well, you just gave us facts, Jennifer, showing that vacation rental industry is growing. It's even more competition. So it feels a little unfair if we're supplementing the industry. Airbnb and VRBO is growing their competition for hotels. It makes it harder and harder to do business here. So I know that's not a popular view, but I just had to put that out on the table.
And part of that goes back to licensing and how many licenses the city will allow. So I totally hear what you're saying, Stephen. I mean, there's a lot of other things that need to be taken into consideration as well.
Can I make an additional comment? Good. I personally am biased. I really feel that the hotels deserve a lot of support because they've invested so much into their property, and I want to see the citizens of Morro Bay able to have as much opportunity as they can with their assets, such as trailer parks and vacation rentals, but I think that they should compete the same. And in some ways, I feel like they're getting that they have an advantage that the hotels don't, because the hotels have to compete at a different level. They're so much bigger, and they have it's a niche, and I would like to see the competition be even. I would like to see the vacation rentals and the trailer parks have to pay the same amount into the bid. I want the bid to be as large as possible. I would like to see as few vacation rentals and trailer parks for travelers as possible. I really want to see more hotels. I love hotels. So I'm in no way in favor of the vacation rentals and the trailer parks getting any benefit in order to get them in. I feel like they're already benefiting because Morro Bay is a destination. Even without the bid, people should want to come here. This place is amazing. And with the bid, we have created this destination that celebrities choose to come to of all the places in the world. So they're already benefiting, and they're not playing fair. And I feel like it should be limited how many there could be, and I feel like they should pay into the same percent, and it needs to be 3%. I want the vacation rentals and the trailer parks to be in the bid at 3%.
Thank you. I know that one thing that's really important to discuss is that, we did have subcommittee meetings at length. We had town hall meetings. It was at that point determined that, again, we were trying to gently bring in a group that was vocally against the
Can I interrupt for a minute? I think that we're going into deliberation. I think we should open to public comment and let them speak, and then let Mr. Green leave so you guys can really deliberate and get this done.
Great. Opening the floor to public comment.
Thank you, CBID. I'm Sean Green, Morro Bay. I'm a vacation rental owner. I appreciate all the thoughts so far from the tourism manager and her recommendation. I do want to say that 1% feels appropriate and the maximum that will avoid significant resistance from vacation rental owners. So I think that's a wise number to put out there. Otherwise, there will likely be a standalone vacation rental bid that they will start on their own. In terms of demonstrating the value for that 1%, we kind of got into the marketing discussion before, but to vacation rental owners, and we heard it at the town hall meeting, it's not marketing, it's not Jackrabbit that provides that value, and it's not morrowbay.org. Here are some things that would show value to vacation rental owners. Number one, maintain a vacation rental permit cap of 250, possibly allowing a growth of a maximum of maybe 2% a year, which is only 5 permits per year for the next 5 years. Otherwise, a cap of 250 retains that value and maintains a residential city that Morro Bay hopes to be. Otherwise, French Quarter, other places in this world have had too many vacation rentals and turned it into a vacation rental city, and that's not what anyone here wants. Two, we need to enforce vacation rental permits and shut down any unpermitted vacation rentals. That should come out of that 1% assessment, the enforcement of vacation rentals. 3, we need to make TOT and TBID compliance easier for vacation rental owners. We don't have automatic payment systems the way that hotels might. We need to get on the phone with Airbnb, VRBO, and make that tax collection direct so that we collect it from our people and it goes directly to the city and compliance will go up. We need to encourage the city to formalize in writing what actually constitutes a vacation rental owner. Our vacation rental. Is it a secondary dwelling? Is it? Can we have units A, B, and C at the same address under the same permit? What about multi-unit conversions to vacation rentals, which should be discouraged? The city needs to encourage the prevention, on that same note, of apartment complexes into vacation rentals. That hurts the city. It hurts everyone across the board. 6, we need to encourage the city to adopt, as I said, the Morro Bay's waste management payment platform for vacation rentals. There's no reason why we can't automate that monthly payment. So if I'm in some other place, I don't have to call person X to walk a check over to the city department. And 7, lastly, we need to reimagine the representation on TBID to include the new participants at a fair rate that they ultimately get pulled in. And on that note, we are a tourism business improvement district. I don't see any restaurants or retailers on this board. Grouping the vacation rentals in may seem to make sense. Maybe there's an opportunity to bring those other people in as well, and we should encourage the city to do that. Thank you.
Thank you, Sean. Any additional public comment? Seeing none, I'm going to open this up to discussion and deliberation.
Can I ask a couple questions of staff on his comment? He mentioned a possible, the idea of a % growth rate of vacation rentals that could be, I think he said the % would equal to 5 new vacation rentals a year, which would be a 2% growth rate. My response would be, well, what's the growth rate of building homes and residences in Morro Bay, the city? Is there any growth rate?
It's pretty minimal at this point.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's flat. So if you were to increase vacation rentals at a 2%, you would be taking away residences at a 2%. Because there is no growth rate in residences for people who aren't on vacation.
I think his point was to maintain the 250 cap, and if there was an increase, to only be 2%.
I understand. And then my second question that I wanted to point out was he had said something about the 1%, a proposed 1% bid, also being used for enforcement. That can't happen, right? It can only be used for marketing.
That's correct.
Okay, I just want to make that clear.
As they're already paying in at 10%, the enforcement should be utilized from that.
I think by design, that's what it is on paper.
So again, in discussion in our subcommittee, we really worked to come up with something that was beneficial for them because they're already getting the benefit. Basically, coming up with a formula that would cover the benefits that they're currently receiving. Do you follow? Not increasing benefits, not increasing the workload currently, because it's basically just covering what we're currently doing. I really look forward to the discussion in regards to July of 2018 of looking at a 5-year plan. And getting the buy-in from the VRBO and RV parks, giving them that opportunity to see what the benefits are. Whether they have seen them yet or not, at the town hall, it was, yeah, we're getting benefit, and we're not paying for it. So from our perspective as a subcommittee, we wanted to come in with something that didn't have a huge protest, that wasn't met with a, hey, we're splintering off into a new T-bid. We wanted to make it inclusive and to grow this organization, not just maintain it, but grow it. So that's where we came up with the 1%.
So, yes, and I second everything that Charlie said on that. I think, to be perfectly clear about if we brought them in at 1%, they would not get a position on the board, the T-bid. The money would be sent. They would not take part in Jackrabbit or be listed on the website, so they're not getting that referral thing. I think, as Charlie said, I got the feeling from most people who spoke at the town hall, and my personal feeling too, wearing both hats, is that we absolutely get a lot of benefit from the PR and the promotion of the destination. That's what we absolutely should be paying for. Some of the hotel referrals, I don't know, events and things that are held downtown, not sure if VRs and RVs get as much bang for the buck from those, as because they're more, just the nature of the clientele that patronizes that is more families coming together. They're not coming here so much around events, that type of thing. So I think, Taylor, that was entered into some of the thinking, is that if we bring them in with limited benefit, let's make them pay a limited amount, then let's move on down the road next year. Let's try to look at making it be even across the board, and then I think we would look to bring somebody on board, figure out how the websites would need to be modified to really push and highlight VRs as much. But that is a huge, and if I think about like the brochures and things that get generated to promote these events, that's easy. If you're in a hotel, you have a rack card and you put it in there, right? If you have if you have multiple vacation rentals, or if you're a remote owner, you have no way to get those to put them in yours. So a lot of the publication, the media that comes out just by nature of it, doesn't benefit us benefit VRs and RVs as much. So the implementation of all the benefits becomes very challenging. But I do definitely would like to see us move in a direction where it is more equal. I want to second the fact that we, as was proven by a lot of the data presented, we are one of the highest tax structures. You say, Taylor, you'd like to see the T-bid be more. I think it goes back to what we were talking about with Mary Ann. If you can prove that, if we can get to a point where we're seeing KPIs indicating that it's justifying that, that's fine. But right now, what it feels like as a hotelier too is that we're paying a lot of money, and I don't see my results being that much better than Pismo. So I think all those things need to come in, and to Charlie's point, it needs to be a graduated introduction. So that's where I would weigh in.
I have a response. First of all, at any percent of assessment, which oftentimes, in my opinion, I see people looking as, especially if they don't want to participate, even though they are participating, they feel like it's a tax. And I feel like taxation without representation is a foundational flaw in why we created the Constitution of America. Therefore, if they're in the bid, they should have full participation. So for us to describe a scenario where they don't have full participation and full representation is automatically wrong, even at 1%. If they're going to be part of the bid, they need to have full participation and representation. It bothers me that Sean can't be up here and talking about this right now. I'm not okay with it. And I might fail in a vote. I don't care about failing in a vote. I'm going to fight what I believe in, always. Always. Secondly, rack cards are a thing of the past. This is a world of digital marketing. Digital marketing is liquid, it is constantly changing, and we are describing something that happened 3 months ago. So therefore, you're describing a system that's constantly happening regardless if you're paying into the 1% or 3% or whatever. It's happening anyways. It's not a rack card. So they need to be brought in at the same value as the other participants who are paying into the marketing system. And we have to have the marketing system. That's why I want it to be as much as we can afford. That's my response.
I hear what both sides here are saying. Honestly, I feel that it should be 2.5% across the board, break even. That feels equitable. I also don't want to take on an adversarial role with the vacation rental owners. So if we agree to this 1%, I definitely want to bring this up again in December of 2018.
And again, this is just a recommendation to council, so they could also make a change as well.
I have a comment on that. I would agree to 2.5%. I would not agree to 1%.
And Maggie, how do you feel about that?
I have a procedural question. Today is the day we're going forward. I thought at one point we'd said it might be discussed now and the following meeting, but that would be only if we didn't reach agreement. Okay.
Right. If the four of you don't agree, because we're short one board member today, it will have to come back.
Okay.
So whatever you guys decide.
Well, I know that, for one, I'm kind of tired of waiting. We've had so many meetings and so much discussion in town hall about bringing these folks in. Their recommendation coming from them was at 1%. Originally, it was at 0%. We want to benefit and not pay into it. After a lot of meetings and discussion in town hall, what we heard was the benefit we're getting is about a 1% benefit. Now, we had this town hall. We also had all these meetings to discuss what if we did bring them in at 3%. If we bring them in at 3%, it changes the entire structure of the T-bid and our promotion, what we have to do. Changes the structure of our marketing, which is already happening. And again, we bring these people in, we're going to have to change the board. We're going to have to change, if at 3%, full change of the board, hiring more people and rewriting a marketing plan with that increased responsibility and increased expense. I don't think that we were really trying to make it simple, but I think we were trying to make it fair, trying to get this thing rolling rather than sitting, and to get them involved in a way. And I agree with you. I think that we need to have representation on the board. And we do, even though it's not directly of VR, VO, or RV. We have two people that sit on our board that do represent, and others that have a lot of knowledge in that. I think it's a real disservice to our board that Sean can't be here on the board too. I just want to make that. But from my perspective, after all the meetings and all the discussions and the town hall, that the committee recommended a 1%. That is where I would like to see this go, and then have that open for July of 18. So we have from January to July to really work out to view the benefits, to look at the structure of the board, and to look at the structure of the marketing that's being done, and the tourism manager, what they have to deal with. And I think that's where we ended up coming at 1%, was this is going to be a heck of a lot of work for us. Let's take this challenge, let's get them in, let's work it for a year and see how it looks. But I think that we have an opportunity from January to July to also take a look at how that board structure would be and how the tourism management would be handled within that, and then bring it back up in July.
So I'll give you a few more thoughts on it, because I know you guys are all really divided. So I think you need to make the assumption that if you vote them in at 2.5% or 3%, it's just not going to happen. They're going to set up their own bid and they will not be part of it. All you'll be doing is dividing out my time with them. So I just need you to keep that in mind, that if they set up their own bid, it'll still be my responsibility to manage that as well as part of the city. So that's fine. I don't have a problem doing that. I just want you to all be aware, because right now my time is 100% on, growing the destination as a whole. Okay?
Being inclusive is better than being fragmented. Any further discussion or deliberation in regards to the addition, 1% addition, which is currently the recommendation from the subcommittee to go to the City Council?
I just, again, I think somebody already touched on this, but in watching the video of the town hall, I don't think it was clearly vocalized the value of the T-bid. And I think that's what we need to accomplish in the next year.
I also feel that the new performance indicators that we're working towards would be beneficial for them as well. I think that the more clear and concise and more in layman's terms that we can get this information out to our constituents, including VRBOs and RV parks, I think that's really important to see, because it is confusing to get that data if you're not looking at it every day. So I think that's a great improvement that is going to help everybody, including the new folks joining the team.
From a marketing, is this on? Yeah. From a marketing standpoint, and to Jen's point, if they do opt to create their own T-bid, one of my concerns would be that then they would want their own website. And as a separate T-bid, as a separate board, they would be able to make all those decisions. And so to the fragmentation point, I think that when it came down to the website, that's where it would truly be a bad thing. And so these new KPIs we're talking about would all be driven from the website. So we want to make sure, and I think make sure strongly that however this comes together, that everybody is using the same website. Otherwise, we're just diluting all the marketing efforts. So,
I have a comment that I wasn't having any more comments, but now I do. Do any other cities have separate bids for their trailer park vacation rentals and hotel industry?
I don't know about that for sure, but I do know there's cities that have not included vacation rentals in the bid specifically to keep it hotel focused.
That wasn't my question. So, from my point of view, I don't see how this creation of a separate bid could happen. And from my sitting in this seat, I'm the longest person sitting on this board. We've barely been able to fill this seat. We're constantly trying to have quorum. I'd like to see them create a bid that could have quorum and maintain staff in a city that can barely maintain staff. And I just totally don't believe it. And my opinion doesn't change. I will not vote for a 1%. I would go for a 2.5%. I agree. I think 2.5% across the board would be fair. Personally, I would like to propose a motion for a 3%. I'm not proposing that motion. That's my opinion.
Well, it looks like we're in an impasse here. And without calling for a vote, I think that we should continue this and table it to our January 25th meeting. I think that it really warrants I'd really like both of you guys to look at and I know you probably have, but look at our staff report, look at go over the meeting minutes from the subcommittee, and please reach out to Maggie and I for any questions. So do you need to make a motion? I'd like to make a motion that I'm the chair.
I make a motion that we continue this to the next T-bid meeting, the discussion on this, since it seems that there's still information to be exposed. And
Second?
Comments? Can I ask a question? Scott, when is the city council looking to have an answer on this, a recommendation? Is there a date?
No, this is, it's kind of been generated by the T-bid, so council can grapple with it whenever it makes its way. I think there's a process that's pretty extensive. I started to research it, the work that Connie did, so there's a lot of legwork involved to make sure that everybody's aware of what it means, what the impacts will be, what the benefits will be. There's a lot of work on our end to make that happen, but I don't think waiting another month is going to be problematic.
Thank you, and I would second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
No.
Thank you.
so that wasn't it. So we can't.
I think we need 4 votes to continue
Yeah,
that. So that's great.
Failed motion after vote?
Yeah, so we'll bring it back as staff, I guess.
It's going to just be tabled naturally then, correct? Thank you. Let's talk wine promotion.
Now, did Sean go away? Can he come back?
Sean
for
can
this?
come back.
Welcome back, Sean. Thank you for returning to the table. Okay, we're back. Jennifer, let's talk about the very fun Wine Merchant Co-op for the September-October 2018.
Okay, so I'm going to talk about this concept that I'm going to throw out at you guys, and what I'm looking for is for you to say you like the idea, don't like the idea, willing to put the money towards it, and let's go forward with an RFP out to some local wine merchants. So I don't know that this will go forward. I have to see if I can get somebody to bite on it on the other end, but I'm hopeful that it will. So I wanted to talk briefly about the wine promotion that we did this year in September and October. So the promotion again was you get a free bottle of wine when you stay 2 nights at a hotel. The hotels had to pay for the bottle of wine. They paid $10 for the bottle. I had 7 hotels that participated in this, and that was actually more than last year. But what I found was there were hotels that said, yes, I want to participate, but they really did not push the bottles. That it had to be a direct book, because I think, from a hotel side, I understand they don't want to have the discounted rate, and then on top of that, also spend another $10 to secure a visitor. But what we did have was we had 2 hotels that took it upon themselves to go outside of that promotion and offer it to any stay. So whether you booked your room on Expedia or if you direct booked it, didn't matter the cost, they gave you a bottle of wine for a 2-night stay. And they did gangbusters with it. It did really, really well. And so that's what made me start thinking about maybe I need to rethink about how this is set up and see if maybe T-bid can take on financial responsibility on part of this. So the idea is that the cost would be split between a local wine merchant and T-bid. So $5 a bottle would be funded by T-bid, and we'd offer it out to any guests. Stay 2 nights in September and October, and you receive a free bottle of wine. Kind of a cool idea. Kind of like the idea. So what I did was and I'm not going to share the background on this just so I can keep it confidential so you're all aware, but I reached out to several hotels in town, and I got roughly 5.9% response from these hotels, and they told me, which equals 154 rooms, and they show for a 2-night stay, giving me their numbers for this actual numbers for September, October, that they had a total of 1521 total 2-night rooms, which is pretty great. So in dividing that out over 60 days, That comes out to 9,180 total room nights for the 60 days. So if we look at this, the idea is if we open this up to every hotel, think about Avocado Margarita, right? We did this with the free tickets to Avocado Margarita. We offered a free ticket with everybody that stayed. We funded 900 tickets, 450 of them were redeemed. So 50% redemption. So that idea of free and that a hotel does not have to pay for it, I think is a really great way to go. The cost for what we're looking at here, so if you look at my math down at the bottom, it would be 916 total rooms. That's 54,960 total room nights available over 60 days, and roughly 16.5% of those stays would be a 2-night stay. So that's 9,068 rooms. So the total for that would be $45,340 total in wine over 60 days. So if we are paying half of that, if we're paying the $22,670 for the wine, that's $5 a bottle, and then the wine retailer would pick up the balance of the cost. It's actually not bad. So we're talking about a $10,000 promotion per month for September and October. It's not bad numbers at all. It's pretty strong. And I think it would really help us grow that shoulder, going into those winter months. September is California Wine Month, so I think it would do well for us. I'm kind of excited about it. I don't know, I've kind of talked to wine retailers in town about it to see what they think. They like the idea. They see the upside of getting them into their store and upselling them on a higher quality bottle or a 2-for-1 wine tasting. There's all sorts of options that they can get more money. And so for them to look at, spending a few dollars to get somebody in their door is a reasonable thing for them. So I think I'll have a wine merchant come on board, but I have to put it out for an RFP and see if anybody likes it. What do you guys think? Isn't it kind of fun?
Well, I'm not seeing the cause and effect here. So without seeing historical data, when you said they did gangbusters, me as a consumer, if I think, okay, here's a hotel room that looks pretty nice and I can book that for $200, and here's one that I can get for, $150 or $140 and it looks adequate too, or I can get a free bottle of wine with this one, to me, I'll go out and buy my own wine. I'd love to see historical data to say, or how is there evidence that offering the bottle of wine made them stay an extra night? I doubt that, because that would have cost them, the extra night cost would have been we can get a free bottle of wine. I just don't get that correlation. So I see the promotion and I think, but how do we know? Anyway.
Let me give you a little more in depth. So I'm sorry I skipped over some facts. So going back to the promotion that just ended, there was 104 total bottles that were used from MCV Winery over September and October. That equals 208 total room nights for those 108 bottles. 104 out of that 104 bottles, 72 of those bottles were from 2 hotels that offered this promotion for anybody that stayed 2 nights, no matter how it was booked. So the way I see this benefiting, Maggie, is not, my hotel over yours because it's a better price and I get a bottle. It's us over another destination. It's come to Morro Bay because you also get a bottle of wine when you stay in Morro Bay. It's more of the culture of getting people to stay in Morro Bay.
Okay. Mm-hmm. I see.
But those numbers are strong. 200 room nights is pretty strong.
Is comment appropriate?
Of course.
Okay. Being in the event industry and travel industry with the company I work for, and my background, I don't know if you know, my background is I'm a scientist. That was what my career was before I created the business I now have. I got to travel the world and work as a scientist on different grants for the Navy. And what I see now, which is just an amazing bit of data I never realized with the tourism industry, is how much it is related to alcohol. And I'm really excited to see what happens in the future as marijuana becomes legal in the next 18 days, right? Or whatever it is. What will happen when that happens? Gosh. So anyways, my point is one of our hugest events here in Morro Bay, the Avocado Margarita Festival, being in the event industry is just one of the most uncomfortable events I've ever been to. Not to put it down in any ways, it's so much fun. But it's in an asphalt parking lot. It's totally overcrowded. It should be about avocados in my opinion, but people come there to drink and they show up in hordes for alcohol. And I just got back from San Diego, and in this period right now in San Diego, in this amazing hotel district where they have these giant high rises, their rates are rock bottom right now to try to fill rooms, but their area of alcohol consumption, which is called the Gas Lamp District, is just overflowing with people. It's insane how many people show up there every night to get wasted. Just wasted. It's shocking. And then they have these little rickshaws they're driving around, taking people around, falling out on the streets, listening to Pandora, hip-hop. It is insane. They're having so much fun. So let's talk about what that's about. That's about alcohol consumption, having a good time. That's what vacation's about, from my scientific observation. So anytime we can link alcohol to this industry, gosh, I don't even need historical data. I have empirical data. And I really believe that, like, Jennifer's gut on a lot of these things, like this last little pub crawl, Santa crawl thing, which sounded really trashy to me, turned out super awesome. I'm just going to say, you got my vote, Jennifer, anytime.
Are you calling me trashy? What? Come on, Taylor. We had 450 crawlers for the Santa crawl, and we were going to do a St. Patrick's Day leprechaun crawl.
450 during this year, I go out. I run an industry of mostly young adults who like to drink alcohol. We go out all the time to see what's going on, to check up on them, to see what bars are happening. The Siren, what they're doing with the music right now is amazing. Amazing what they're doing with the music industry. Alcohol is a real part of our industry here, people. And I think that if Jennifer says that this wine thing is a good idea, I'm going to believe her.
We serve complimentary wine at our 3 hotels here in Morro Bay, so that I think that's part of the reason it didn't gain more traction here. But piggybacking on Taylor's comment, I'm all for more marketing ideas that target millennials and kind of get the pub crawl and things like that, especially in these shoulder season months. I'd love to see something going on January and February. I don't know how we can get more millennials to be bird watchers, but I'm all ears.
Okay. So does this require a vote? Any public comment regarding this great wine promotion for the wine month, September, October? I think this would be a hit.
So I need a recommendation from the board if you want me to go ahead and move forward with doing an RFP.
Can you just clarify in a sentence or two what you're asking us for here? I see a promotion. I'm not 100% clear on what we're asking. We want to put out an RFP for what?
So if you read the recommendation, it says approve staff moving forward with an RFP for the Wine Merchant Co-op to bring back to TBID board to review no later than February.
And of that, we're anticipating a $22,000 outpour at the end based on historical data?
Roughly,
Okay.
yes. That's based on current 2-night occupancy for September, October.
Okay.
Okay, team, looking for, there we go.
I make a motion to support what you're doing. That's basically what you're asking for, right?
Do we hear a second?
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Hold on. Yep.
Yes.
All in favor?
Yes.
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye. Or no, opposed.
One opposed. That passes. Thank you. Future business. Here comes Mary Ann. Looks like she was getting up. She has some future business for us.
Yeah. Jennifer and her team and our teams have been working together to do an alcohol-based event in January called Butterflies and Bubbles. It just didn't happen this year. It just takes a little more time on that. And I know, Jennifer, I don't know if you want to make a comment to that, but Yeah. So that is something that is on the radar, just so you know, in the in January, February season.
So maybe bubbles and bird watching comes next.
Right. Bubbles, butterflies, and birds. Thank you. It'd be like a champagne. It would be a champagne-focused event.
I'm always looking for a whole series of pub crawls. We could do a February Lonely Hearts crawl, and awesome. Taylor and I are on it.
Do we have any declaration of any future agenda items or anything that we'd like to discuss prior to closing this meeting?
I think it might be nice if we extended an invitation, maybe for our January meeting, to anyone receiving a grant or a sponsorship in 2017 and our event planner, to maybe just give them like 1 minute each to kind of rah-rah their experience. Not in a critical way, but just like so we can put a face to the people that TBID gives money to, maybe. I don't know, just with a really short time limit. We don't want to run long, but a nice invitation, maybe.
So do you want to wait until all of the grants are done? Because they all report back to me. They give me a pretty detailed report on how they did in room occupancy and all that. We're not through everybody right now. We still have three or four more grants that need to be
In fiscal year or calendar year?
Yes. Yes, we have the car show and the kite festival. And
All right, whenever we have a slow month anticipated, I
Okay.
guess, on TBID, it'd be nice to
It's a
give them
great idea.
a month of
Sure.
lead time. So, especially the event planner on Winterfest, maybe just bring her in,
yeah, she's
because I heard a
always
lot of good things about her.
fun. Yeah. Be glad.
I like the I like the I like that a lot of bringing them back, and I think that what we may want to think about is 60 days after their event, we invite them back. And so that we can have this as an ongoing thing throughout the year where it's fresh in their mind what they just did. They're able to have time enough to put their report together and then come back and tell us their success story. That way we don't have a whole audience of like at the end of the year of like, I did mine and mine and mine and mine. We could do
great
like,
idea.
here's this one and here's this one and have it flow. And I think that throughout the year then we get that great positive response from what we have been able to help them with. So
I
that's
think
just
we
a
can
thought.
implement that now, Charlie. I think it's a really good way to do it. That way we're not too stacked up.
And if there are not any other further announcements or declaration, I would like to call this meeting adjourned at 11:14. Thank you all, and happy holidays.